Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Cross-Chain Insider, a weekly roundup of all news traveling across chains, brought to you by LI.FI. I'm Mark, a member of the BizDev team and governance forum participator. My GigaBrain co-host is Arjun, the jack of all trades and master of everything here at LI.FI. What is up, Arjun?
If Mark is the governance forum participator, then I'm the governance forum discusser. Because
The
all I do is
discussor.
like discuss everything and never write anything.
Okay, so as usual, like we do every week, we're going through Arjun's Cross-Chain Insider newsletter. We're going to go through all the big points that he wrote up about on Monday in podcast form. If you are more of a newsletter person than a podcast person, be sure to subscribe at lifi.substack.com, which you can find up here. But if you're an audio person, like, a normie, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, then you should keep listening to the podcast. With that being said, Arjun, what are the bridge updates of the week?
Let's start with something that was unfortunate, I would say. So cBridge, they faced a DNS hijack. So it was a DNS cache poisoning attack. It was conducted on cBridge's front-end UI on the 17th. In this attack, the attackers basically hijacked the front end and drained user funds by redirecting them to approve malicious contracts. So 98% of the funds have been recovered now, which is good news. But like all of these like phishing attacks, they've become very common these days, like especially with the hijacking of the front end. And I'm like, there have been good threads on how you can avoid those, or like how you can foolproof yourself against all of these attacks, but I think it's just very hard, right? Like I can't understand what happened.
Yeah, the front end attacks are nasty because you're going to cBridge, you double check the URL, right? You're ready to go. I know this is the trusted site, and then boom, it's been hacked. So that's tough. I do have to say, they acted so fast. I mean,
Mhm.
their first tweet was 11:38 p.m. on August 17th, and like they're still like the sixth tweet they put out was on August 17th. So that means they were going fast
Yeah.
to fix
And
this.
and the best thing is 98% of the funds have been recovered.
Yep.
So not too much damage. Moving on. So Arbitrum Nova is now supported by Multichain and Connects. This is another news where like bridges have moved very quickly. Arbitrum Nova went live last week, and within like a week, all of these bridges came out with support for the chain. So users can now bridge assets to and from Nova directly from other chains using multi-chain and Connects. Next, we have Fractal protocol. They've integrated LI.FI's product stack, and with that, they're basically using us as a money Lego, your favorite word, to power cross-chain yield farming. You wrote the article. Do you want to tell what it's about?
Yeah. So essentially, Fractal, you can deposit Ethereum, or not Ethereum. You can pretty much deposit a stablecoin um, onto their mainnet application. They then route those stablecoin deposits across a bunch of different chains using LIFI, and then have like cross chain not strategies. They have strategies going. They're not cross chain. They're actually just on the native chain. So like they have strategies going on Polygon, Avalanche, yada yada,
Mhm.
all at the same time. Any yield that they earn from those strategies, they then route back to mainnet, and then you earn interest on your initial deposit. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty much yield farming without you having to do anything. Like you just deposit money, and
Mhm.
then boom, it goes out and does all the magic for
Yeah.
you.
And with
Um,
LI.FI, the user experience has improved even more because now it's like cross-chain, one deposit, one click interface.
yeah, right. We're literally the back end for a cross-chain yield farmer. It's awesome. I mean, think about it. Like I've spent so much time trying to figure out, okay, how do I move from funds between Avalanche and Polygon because I want to yield farm on whatever protocol. It's just a pain in the butt. Even if I have LIFI open, right? Like
Mhm.
then I have to figure out two different strategies to use on the two different chains. Fractal, now you can do it all in one spot. So big fan.
Yeah. Up next, we have another new chain. So Doge chain went live recently, and again, bridges are all over it. So Synapse and Multichain now support Doge chain. Synapse, I think, has they have a even bigger like partnership with them because they're minting assets, or it's a deeper integration with them. So if you check out the newsletter, there's a link on how to bridge to Dogecoin. That's a pretty good thread as well. And yeah, so bridge to Dogecoin, I guess.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of thought Dogecoin was a total meme. Like I saw all the announcements of it last week and I didn't really pay it much mind because I
Mhm.
was like, Dogecoin, that just people just making this up? But dude, this
Apparently,
is
there
like
are so
a
many
thing.
users now.
Yeah, it's massive.
Well, if we know anything, we know that the power of memes is strong.
I mean, a layer two for Dogecoin, I guess I'm just too middle curve
It's 2022 in
to get
crypto.
behind it.
Up next, we have Coinbase Wallet. So they've introduced bridging support for Polygon, and the team plans to add bridging to Coinbase Wallet's mobile app and support for other networks soon. So this is pretty big news because it's like after Ethereum, they now support Polygon as well within their browser extension interface. Last, we have Nomad's Road to Recovery plan. So after like 3 weeks, the Nomad team has come out and they've basically highlighted their path forward towards relaunching the bridge, and they've divided the path to recovery in like 3 phases. The first one is funds recovery. I think they managed to get 32 million or something, like over 30 million. They managed to recover, and the next phase is bridge upgrades. The last phase would be bridge restart and recovered funds distribution. So I think the Nomad team is trying everything they can to basically uh, recover all the funds and give it back to the users, restart the bridge, and I think that's what we all want.
Yep, this chart is the most fascinating
Mhm.
chart I've
They
seen
really
this week.
went deep into what has happened till now.
The Ronan Bridge restart, 3 months. Took 3 months to restart it. Poly Bridge, 3 weeks post hack. Wormhole, 1 day. Horizon Bridge, not yet restarted. cBridge, 4 weeks. Um,
Wormhole one day,
and
next
so it
day
sounds, yeah, Wormhole was ready the next day.
they woke up and they're
Um,
like, okay, let's just brush it off. It's fine.
and you know what? Shout out to them because
Yeah.
they've done a good job. It's been live ever since.
Mhm.
Um, but I would assume based on how I was reading, I have no inside information whatsoever, but just the way Nomad was writing that they're gonna be it's gonna be weeks or months rather than days before their bridge restarts. Based
Mhm.
on my reading of the document. Not sure if you have an opinion.
I think the team they only said September, uh, like September as a good or like optimistic date, but uh, yeah, September is like next month, which is
Yeah,
probably too
weeks.
soon. Too soon.
Yeah. I mean, I have no opinion really on whether it's too soon or too early. All I'll say is I'm hoping their team can pull something
Mhm.
great together for the community and figure it out because I think the actual optimistic design for Nomad is awesome.
Yeah.
Hate that they got
And by
bit.
the way, like this was not part of the newsletter, but yesterday we saw another attack on Rainbow Bridge. So
Well, another failed
another
attack.
failed attack. My bad.
Failed attack. Yeah. Okay. Next, we have Jump Crypto. It plans to upgrade Solana by creating a second validator client for the blockchain. The goal is to boost the network's throughput, decentralization, and reliability as it scales. Here we have the CoinDesk article. Now, like, shout out Jump Crypto. Like, who knew that a VC firm? They're more than a VC firm. Like
Yeah.
Jump is doing everything, but like they came into the space as a VC firm, and now like they're building out a second validator client. Like,
So I
shout out
think
Jump Crypto.
they're a very important part of the Solana ecosystem because they're also behind the wormhole bridge as well. They're the ones who came in when it was when wormhole needed help the most, right?
I'm a big fan. Next, we have Akaa, which is a name that really gives me trouble here on this podcast. The community submitted a proposal, and I believe it was accepted to burn 1.28 billion of erroneously minted AUSD, which is the stablecoin Akaa USD. The vote seeks to help resolve the error mint and reclaim the AUSD peg. So AUSD depegged, I believe last week or the week before, which we covered on the podcast. Now
Yeah.
they're trying to rectify this by burning the 1.28 billion that was wrongly minted. This feels like a no-brainer. I think I looked at the forum and it was like 95% of people voted yes, which makes sense. Anything to add there?
Not really. I think there's nothing else they can do, I guess.
Yep. So next we have another depegging situation. HUSD, the stablecoin issued by Huobi Exchange, depegged on the 18th, fell as low as 88 cents, causing the curve liquidity pools to become unbalanced. The team explained that the depeg was caused as they closed market maker accounts in some regions due to regulations. The HUSD peg has now been restored, but as we can see, regulations sometimes hurt even DeFi assets.
But this is, at least this is not because of any attack or any hack. This is because they had to do something, and because of market conditions, basically.
Yeah, it's a weird explanation. You wrote this up, so I didn't research this.
They wrote this.
No,
These are
they wrote this, but like I went through their announcements and stuff. It was just a weird way to phrase it, that closing their market maker accounts in some regions for HUSD caused it to depeg, because a lot of that has to do with like curve pools and stuff, which are DeFi related, which probably wouldn't be factored into like closing for different regions. I just thought it was kind of a weird explanation.
I mean, if they had to close positions, that means they had to sell something.
Yeah, you're right. I guess that even if they were selling stuff from a centralized exchange, yeah, you're right. You're right. I was really showing off my small brain there. Next, we have Uniswap. It's completed the kind of first phase of the governance structure there to activate a fee switch, or at least like a practice fee switch. It's not the big total fee switch that people are like clamoring for, but just practice. This is big news just because the Uniswap fee switch is like the white whale of the crypto space. Like if you turn it on,
It's like
Uni
the
token
it's the
finally
elephant
has.
in the room. It's like everyone wants
Yeah,
to talk about it, but no one's talking about it.
yeah. It's like it was like, Uni is the most governance of all governance tokens, right? And so a fee switch could give Uni some real financial value. Is the theory I'm reading on all the threads, of course. So we'll see if that continues forward. They have some big names in the space on the forum proposals. I believe the Pool Together guys are actually kind of pushing the fee switch. I think it was Leighton who proposed it. Let's see. Oh, this is what a temperature check looks like, by the way. I find governance forums to be so funny. It's like this is how we're voting on millions and billions of dollars. Like we're putting up a blog post.
It's a
I feel like we
notice
can do
board.
better.
It's a notice
Yeah,
board, basically.
I know. I feel like we can do better in the space, but that's a different conversation. Lido, Lido is the next piece of news here. They proposed to launch support for staked ETH as wrapped staked ETH. So wrapped ETH on L2s, including Arbitrum and Optimism to start. They want to start on the big chains first and then maybe move out from there. So Arbitrum and Optimism are going to be first. Lido aims to enable users to stake ETH on L2s directly from that L2 without having to bridge back to mainnet. I'm a big fan of seeing how wrapped staked ETH does. I find that concept fascinating.
So if a bridge wraps staked ETH, Will it be called canonical wrapped stake ETH?
Right. Like it just, and then if the canonical wrapped stake ETH is then bridged to another chain, is it wrapped canonical wrapped stake ETH?
Yeah. At one point, they'll just like, for uniformity, of course, they'll just use the word wrapped and do square, cube.
Oh, I like ETH squared.
Yeah.
So I'll be fascinated to see how this goes. Shout out to Lido. They're always shipping. Next, we have the last portion of the multi-chain ecosystem recap, which is, am I on the right? Yes, I am. So Maker has deployed a canonical DAI bridge between Arbitrum Nova and Ethereum. This will allow users to use canonical DAI from the beginning without any token migration. So canonical is a new term. No, it's not a new term. I've read it for a while, but it's probably a new term for the podcast.
Mhm.
The best way I can describe it, because it gets pretty muddy in there, the difference between native, canonical, and wrapped. Because canonical is kind of the middle ground
Sounds like
between,
a blog post idea.
yeah, it's like kind of the middle ground between native and wrapped. Canonical means that the original DApp pretty much, or entity, is bridging the token.
Mhm.
So it's like DAI is going to be being moved from mainnet to Arbitrum Nova with MakerDAO's permission, which makes it canonical rather than
I've
it being.
always thought like all of these words have been used interchangeably.
Yes, but I'm trying to still, like, a native token would be DAI minted by MakerDAO
Yeah.
on Ethereum, and then a wrapped DAI would be like me moving DAI through multi-chain, right?
Mhm.
They're wrapping it to another chain. Canonical is with MakerDAO's permission. How did I do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty much. You did a good job. Don't worry.
Okay, I tried my best. We need to stop bringing in new terms though in the bridging space.
So that's the only way to confuse people. So
Right, you're right. So if anyone has questions about, oh, what is this canonical thing that they're talking about, definitely go read this Bankless Publishing article, why canonical DAI improve security and fungibility when using DAI on different blockchains, which is one of those titles that's just like so perfect, right? It just tells you exactly what you want. Speaking of, well, I just kind of did I always do early recommended reads because I get so excited. But we're not to recommended reads yet. We are to what's popping on Twitter. So Arjun,
yeah.
what is popping on Twitter?
So there was a thread by Alex Shevchenko, the CEO of Aurora Labs, which basically discussed, is Aurora an L2 or not? Before I go into this, what are your views?
I'm conflicted. I think Aurora is more of an L2 than it is not an L2.
L2 to Ethereum.
Just say your piece before I go on
Okay.
it more.
Okay, so let's start with what is an L2. So the general consensus, the definition is an L2 is a network that inherits its security from Ethereum, right? So this basically means to break an L2, one would need to break Ethereum itself. By this definition, common examples are rollups like Arbitrum and Optimism. Now, all of this is, by the way, explained by Alex. I'm not explaining anything. So by this definition, Aurora is not an L2 on Ethereum. Aurora runs, this is because Aurora runs as a smart contract on Near and inherits its security. So to break Aurora, one would need to break Near and not Ethereum. However, he argues that because of the Rainbow Bridge and how it works, Aurora would classify as an L2. So Rainbow Bridge is basically the bridge between Ethereum and Near, and it's a trustless bridge. So Rainbow Bridge uses light clients in its architecture, and this to pass messages from one chain to another, it deploys light clients of Near as a smart contract on the target chain, which is Ethereum. So according to Alex, this design makes Near an L2 of Ethereum, because if near is compromised, one would need to compromise the light client on Ethereum to be able to steal funds. So through Rainbow Bridge, Aurora inherits Ethereum security, and thus it should be considered an L2. And he goes on to say that if Aurora was an L2 and if it was added to the list of L2s on L2 beat, then it would be ranked highest on the list because it has a decentralized validator set, and the sequence of failure risk of optimism arbitrum does not exist for Aurora, so it would be rank highest. Now, what do you think?
I stand by it.
Okay.
I think it's a roll up because of the Rainbow Bridge. I mean, do you disagree?
Yeah, because so see, I'll complete the thread. So it did not end there. He concluded that since Ethereum Light Client is a contract on Near blockchain, Ethereum is an L2 to Near. So that's something that I don't want to get into. But there was researchers like Togrul from Scroll. So he pointed out that since Aurora does not inherit, so he pointed out there are like 4 characteristics that an L2 needs to basically qualify in order to be classified as an L2. That's inheriting data availability, censorship resistance, ordering and state transition correctness, guarantees from Ethereum. So anything that does not qualify all of these 4 characteristics should not be considered an L2. And I think if that's the definition, then it of course should not be.
Looks like I need to do more research on the definition of L2s.
So simple definition, it's like, yes, he made a point.
Simple definition, yes. Technical definition,
no.
Sounds like no.
So it's like, okay, I don't want to give that example, but it's like you take one aspect of research and say that, okay, I qualify. I basically am able to come through on this point. That's why I qualify. But then you completely ignore all of the other points. And
so are you saying that
no, I'm not saying
Aurora making a pitch that it's an L2 is like a bridge saying it's trustless? Like it's sort of correct, I guess.
Maybe.
Anyways, no comment. Arjuna's no comment. Okay, so that is what's popping, which I think was pretty interesting topic for the week. Even though I think only the nerds were debating it on Twitter. I think you're on nerd Twitter this week. It wasn't like when you thread about the merge, like the merge. That's all the cool kids are talking about the merge.
Those are the best type of threads because, like, so I in the merge thread I put July 2020, and some of the people thought I put 22nd July, and they thought I said the merge is expected to go live on 22nd July, and then they were quote tweeting that okay, I'm wrong. I was like, I didn't say that.
Dude, we should definitely live stream the merge for LI.FI on like Twitter Spaces. Anyways, we're really off topic right now. Okay, next section of the pod is interesting reads, which I always want to call recommended reads from my days at Unchained. But anyways, Arjun, what you got for us?
Yeah, so this week we basically dive deep into IBC and XCMP. So IBC is Cosmos's messaging protocol, like interop protocol, and XCMP is Polkadot's cross-chain infrastructure. So both of these are like always compared against each other because of how similar Cosmos and Polkadot are. But this week we basically looked at how they work and what are the differences, what are the similarities. And this is just like a high-level overview. There's like a 20-minute read by interchain accounts that goes very, very deep into all of the technical stuff. So that's also linked down there. So if you like the overview, go check out the entire article by interchain accounts.
I love the hub and spoke.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those terms you can say, and people are like, "Oh, he's smart." It's like, "Oh, look at that hub and spoke consensus."
You have no life.
No, I don't. Okay, next.
Yeah, so next one was a Twitter Spaces hosted by dBridge Finance, and this one focused on building in the cross-chain future. So it's like building how to build secure infrastructure in the cross-chain ecosystem, and they had some very good guests: Mudit Gupta, the CSO from Polygon, and people from Highborn Security. So it was very interesting to see how people basically responsible for like billions of dollars in assets, how do they, what do they think about security in this space, and how do they approach building in this ecosystem?
Yep, I still need to check this one out. I haven't listened yet,
Yeah, and
but
the
I have
last one,
listened to the next one. Have you listened to
yeah,
this
I
one yet?
just did like 10
Okay.
minutes ago. But the last one is called The Ugly Truth About Crypto Bridges. And I think it's a very good, like, quick summary of what is a bridge, how do they work, and the different risks. So it's like, it's common stuff that we've listened to like hundreds of times, but it's good because his audience is uh, like normie users, right? So he explains everything in very simplistic terms, and he covers stuff like what are bridges, how do they work, risk of bridges, uh, why there were hacks, and how they happened, and what, and like most importantly, what users can do to protect themselves. So definitely check it out. I think it's like a 10-12 minutes video, and it explains a lot about bridges.
It is 12 minutes long.
Mhm.
You listen to that at 2x speed.
Yeah, I did.
That's 6 minutes of your time. This is one you can definitely listen to at 2x speed. Um, and it's great. The one tip that I love from this YouTube clip was that when you're bridging, don't use the bridge as like your basic financial infrastructure. Use your bridge to move from chain A to chain B, and then once you get to chain B,
Yeah.
figure out a way to get your assets into cold storage, or like if it's a long-term holding, like don't be using wrapped assets or like anything really weird from a bridge or holding. Like,
Like,
anyways, just
don't just bridge and forget about it. So when you
yes,
bridge, there has to be a purpose of like why you bridged, right? So whenever you're done with that, just revoke all access, uh, get back to native assets, and sit peacefully without any risk.
have a plan when you're bridging. That's what I
Mhm.
loved about his YouTube video today. It was just like,
Unless you're bridging like just for exploring $50 here
right,
and there,
like
then it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
when I go mess around and try to buy an NFT on um like I'm gonna move over $15, and so maybe I
Yeah.
won't revoke access after doing that.
But that's something that
uh
I've started doing now. Like after every time I use an application, I've started revoking access.
yep. Ether, if you want to go check, Etherscan is a great tool for that from mainnet. But you can also revoke access via um, MetaMask and there's a couple different dApps that do
You can do it manually.
only.
You can just
Yeah.
disconnect access every time.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there you can disconnect access, but like actually revoking
Yeah, okay.
access contractually, you usually need to go to Etherscan, or there's a couple like I think it's like revoke dot. Shoot, I can't remember. We'll put the link in the show notes maybe. Okay, so we got I have two recommended reads here. Already talked about Fractal protocol at the beginning, but I wrote a little deep dive there. If you want to go check it out, take you about 5-10 minutes to read through it. Next, we have the fundamental insights and overview of mainstream cross-chain DeFi exchanges. I thought that was an interesting way to phrase what this article is about. DeFi exchanges, cross-chain DeFi exchanges, just because it's really a lot of bridges that he's talking about, but he calls them
Yeah.
cross-chain exchanges, which is pretty accurate term. Bridge, cross-chain exchange, kind of the same thing, but you have to kind of swap an asset for it to be really an exchange rather than a
I think
bridge.
like after a point, every DEX kind of becomes a cross-chain bridge aggregator. Like if they integrate a bridge,
Yep.
there's a very
So
fine line.
there's a very fine line. This is just a great breakdown. If you're looking to compare and contrast different protocols like LIFI, though it did
I
call
would
us
say,
LIFI.
yeah, exactly.
Come on, LI.FI. Well, yeah, did a good job. I think we're the first one covered, so definitely go check out the article. You have anything to add here?
Not really. I think, yeah, just a good article, covers a lot of details. So it's nice.
Yeah, I needed that article like a year ago.
Yeah.
Would help my onboarding experience. Um, okay, and with that, that is the end of the pod. Arjun, do you have anything else to add?
I would say in general, there's like lesser content on bridges. I feel in the middle, there was like a 2 week hype somewhere where there were at least 30 articles in 2 weeks. But people have now stopped writing about bridges, which is not so nice.
Yeah, but like you can sleep at night instead of having to read 43 blog posts in a
It
day,
was just
which
nice.
is good.
Everyone was talking about bridges. So everyone had an opinion. But the thing is,
Yep.
like, after 3 or 4 articles, you could see lines being copied from another article and then rephrased. And then you were like, oh, I've read this before.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so I don't think I have anything to add, so I'm gonna close this out. That's the latest episode of the Cross Chain Insider. For more info, be sure to subscribe to the Cross Chain Insider newsletter that Arjun writes. You can also check out LIFI, LI.FI. We're building the ultimate cross chain money Lego. You can check us out on Twitter at LIFI Protocol, LI.FI Protocol, where you can also join our Discord. Come hang out with us.